Hello, and welcome to the Wealth and Wisdom with the Market Guys. I'm James DeGiorgia.
And I'm Jeff Carbaz.
On today's show, we're going to discuss the mortgage and refinance crisis. It's one of the most important subjects right now. Jeff, who do we have to discuss this with us?
James, our guest today is Neil Stein. He brings 15 years of experience in the financial services arena. From his early years at One World Financial Center with CIBC Oppenheimer, in 2002, Mr. Stein joined WCS Lending in New York City and relocated to Boca Raton in 2005. Thanks for being on the show today, Neil.
Thank you.
You know, Neil, I'm going to give one little bit of disclosure. We know each other because I've used you as a mortgage broker, and I couldn't think of a better person, situated to address the problems that we have today. Because, look, it doesn't matter what news station we turn on, here locally or nationally, it does seem as if the mortgage crisis and the subprime crisis is just overwhelming that particular, facet of the economy.
You know, it's funny that you should mention when you turn on the TV or the radio and you hear about this stuff. Obviously, there's a big problem going on in the country with regard to mortgages, credit crunch, et cetera, et cetera. However, just like when the stock market crashed in the year 2000 and then after 9/11 in 2001, I think that if you're sitting at home every day watching CNBC, the press is painting a very, very dark picture of what's going on. I'll give you an example. I have a lawyer friend in New York who gave me a holler a couple of weeks back, and he says, I have a doctor who makes $300,000 a year, and he's got $2 million in the bank that he's liquid for, and his credit is fantastic, and he thinks he can't get a mortgage. He's got a wife who's pregnant, and he wants to move into the suburbs from Manhattan. So I said, well, have him call me because I can get him a mortgage. The point is, mortgages are being written today, and they're being written for people that qualify for them.
And, that means that in a time period like this, you're going to have to use a very skilled person to navigate the different rules and the different requirements that are in place. It's my understanding that a lot of the banks have changed the criteria of how they lend money almost on a weekly or, a 3-week basis.
Yeah, that's correct. And I'll tell you this. When people are calling me, like everyone else in America, the first thing that they're saying is rate, rate, rate. And rate's very important, all right? However, as you say, you need someone that has experience and is skilled, that knows how to structure the loan in the proper way to present it to the underwriter at the bank so nothing happens and the loan goes smooth and it goes clean and you can take your borrower from point A to point B, okay? Furthermore, I think that when you're shopping for a loan, whether it is a refinance or a purchase, what you want to do is you want to use somebody who has a multi-lender platform. And actually, that's the reason I am at my company, always have been. If you're at City Mortgage today and you're using them for your loan, well, 2 weeks ago, their adjustable rate mortgages on the jumbo side popped from 6 to 8%. They're not taking them in anymore because they don't want the inventory. The point is, if you're alone at City Mortgage, now what do? You have nowhere else to go.
That brings up a really interesting point. The Fed keeps cutting interest rates. We're now down to just a little over 2%. We could go all the way down. In 2000, we went down to 75 basis points on the federal funds rate. We keep cutting interest rates, but it doesn't seem like mortgage rates are going lower. What's the disconnect there?
Yeah, it's ironic and it's funny because I get this question all the time from my clients. And, really the prime rate when, the Fed is out there and they're cutting rates, it's really only associated with the rate by which you borrow for a home equity line of credit, and really doesn't have much to do and doesn't always correlate with the LIBOR, the Treasury Index, which are the indexes that are used to determine some of these fixed rate mortgages and adjustable rate mortgages, okay? I will say this, you've got things happening in the country like Bear Stearns being bought by Chase at $2 a share. Well, that's one of the reasons that banks...
Now $10 a share.
Now $10 a share. That was a good buy too. In any event, I think, unforeseen circumstance is one of the reasons that you're seeing mortgage lending rates on the adjustable rate mortgages and on the fixed side popping up. And they're very volatile as of late. So
now one other issue that's come up real recently has been Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, and increase in potentially the amount that they're able to lend. What are your thoughts on that?
Another interesting question. They've already taken the loan amounts from 417, depending on the county and on the state, all the way up to 700 and change. I think the number's in the 720s. However, the rates are not correlating with that. So now you're seeing lenders have three separate sets of rates. In other words, it used to be where you had your conforming rates and your jumbo rates. The jumbo rates were a little worse, the conforming rates were a little better. Now you've got lenders coming out with rates for loans between 417 and 700. The only way where you're seeing conforming pricing from loans from 417 to 700 is in the FHA arena, okay? So in other words, right now, whatever the loan limit is in your county, for instance, most of New York, you can get loans up to $700,000, and it all is determined upon what homes are worth, the average median home price in that area to what the lending criteria will be. You can get a 30-year fixed at conforming pricing through FHA loans. But as far as conventional goes, I haven't really seen a difference in pricing.
Tell me, you know, I'm seeing a lot of projects just stopping, you know, around Boca Raton and the South Florida area. Mm-hmm. What's going on with construction loans? Are they being hit as hard as, you know, the mortgage market and the refinance?
You know what? Construction loans are pretty good. In other words, I haven't seen a lot of changes in guidelines on construction loans. Now, I am talking about residential and not commercial. When you're crossing over into commercial, you know, as far as nobody wants to take land that's owned and build on the commercial level. You know, it's very tough to get loans like that. But on the residential level, what they're doing is they'll get an appraisal based on the post-construction value, and they'll lend on that value. So in other words, if you have a land that's worth $10 million, piece of land, and they want to build, for instance, I'm working on a loan right now in Manalapan, which is a beautiful strip by the ocean locally, and it's going to be worth about $28 million, and it's comping out in the area because you've got homes all on that strip that are worth between 30 and 80 million, to be quite frank. So you're seeing it comp out at 28 million. Right now the land's only worth 13, but we're able to get the borrower a loan for 17 million, which will be about 65% of value.
In the Miami market, nationally, I live in Wisconsin,
okay.
But I'm down here pretty frequently working with James, and I'm watching CNBC. They constantly talk about the Miami condo market just being a tear. Thoughts on that? And a second kind of question to that is, what do you think of the ability of people to have gone in the past and, you know, put zero down, and basically that's what's causing these walkaway situations? I want to get your thoughts on both of those.
Yeah, well, zero down is pretty much a thing of the past. Okay, it might exist if your credit and your income and your assets are substantial and they can create compensating factors. And by the way, to all the people out there, watch your credit. Your credit is your most important asset, I believe, especially from my experience in this business. As far as the condos in Miami go, obviously you're seeing the cranes, you know, there when you drive down Collins Avenue into South Beach, and, you know, stop construction on these buildings. And, you know, what's happening as far as the lenders go and changing their guidelines, as James said, most lenders are only lending 50% on condominiums down there, okay? And if they have guidelines, some of them above that, 60, 70%, what they'll do is they'll put a 5% hit to your loan to value for deteriorating market. So that's what we're seeing out there. And, you know, if you're buying an investment property down there, it's going to be even tougher to get a loan. It's just, they're making it real tough. Countrywide broker stopped and eliminated condo financing, period. They just did that a couple weeks ago.